let's talk some stud muffins.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Let's talk about my start of the week. The number one. He ended up the number one. Is that right?
That is correct.
I didn't even know that until you told me that.
Thus far, we still have two
Russell.
quarterbacks to go
Russell and Matthew.
who will not be the number one quarterback. But
So
that's okay.
Philip is in the top 3 no matter what.
No matter what.
So Philip Rivers, 23 completions for 358 yards, 3 touchdowns. It took him a little while to get going in this game. He only had about 12 points at halftime in fantasy. However, he got it done.
And I believe there was 3 missing starters from his offensive line. So that's what happened. If you watch the game early on, there was a particular play near the very beginning of the game where the linebackers just hit the A gap and came running completely free right up the center. It was ridiculous. And so there's a credit to that team and that offensive line coach who managed to get things going together, because it wasn't just Rivers. I mean, Woodhead had a pretty decent game. Melvin Gordon we really liked him, but the game flow just didn't work out for him. But Rivers was great. If you have Rivers right now, hold on to him. The schedule is going to be great for him moving forward, and he gets Gates back.
He had a great game. Sammy Biscuits.
Yeah,
he's back.
I hope people made some money on those GPPs. We were like, maybe throw him out for a FanDuel bigger tournament, because he finished great. I think he finished as the
touchdowns.
Number 2, maybe?
Yeah, Sam Bradford had a good week. He had a 39-yarder to Miles Austin of days past.
Yes.
Drew Brees came back with a big game last night. Ended with an 80-yard touchdown, which always boosts the stats, but he's
that helps.
359 and 2. And we talked about McCown and Cousins. Both of those guys completed a lot of passes, 356 yards for McCown, 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins had 290 yards and a touchdown, although I'm not signing or starting Kirk Cousins anywhere. This is just more like his mom called and wanted us to mention his name.
However, I think we need to start taking Josh McCown serious as a streamer.
Sure.
But this is back-to-back high-volume weeks. It's just he's got to be
Duke
listed.
Johnson helps that offense a lot.
Yes.
From a standpoint of, like, you can take it out of the backfield and do something with it. Young legs, fresh legs.
Duke really got it done in the passing game, though. The touchdown, the deep touchdown was that was a great pass and
a really good catch.
Yeah, so it was a fantastic play overall.
Yes. Breaking news.
Let us have it.
Joe Philbin has been fired.
Sorry, Joe, but sorry, not sorry.
I tweeted a little note about Joe Philbin over the weekend that I won't repeat on the show.
Now, out of curiosity in the breaking news, is the defensive coordinator and or offensive coordinator still around?
Let's see. I don't know yet.
All right.
It is very breaking.
Entire coaching
Extremely
staff
breaking.
fired.
They should do that.
Ndamukong Suh has kicked Joe Philbin in the head. Wait, that is not a real news story. Okay, so he's gone. This can only mean nowhere to go but up. Nowhere to go but up.
You have to hold out the hope.
Here's what
for
you
Miller.
do. You guys want me to take over as coach? Because I can tell you what to do. Do you want to know?
Yeah. I want to know.
Okay, first, on offense, you get Lamar Miller more involved, and you get Devontae Parker more involved. You don't keep throwing the ball to Greg Jennings or rotational Rashard Matthews as your
Stills.
number one guy. Well, they tried to throw to Kenny Stills. He finally caught one at the end of the game, but they kept throwing all over the place.
The play calling is of how many fades do you have to miss on before you think, okay, we've missed 5 times in a row. Maybe we should hold off on calling the fade passes.
Yeah, it was gross. So that's where I would start on the offenses. I would use your first round pick.
No,
I would involve him in the offense. You know, he's a giant superstar in the making, and you throw him like no passes. Actually, the only contribution I saw from him yesterday was the touchdown that got called back because of the pick.
Right.
The one to Landry. So kind of disappointing there. So, all right, wide receivers that had big games. Tavon Austin. There's got to be nobody better than him in the screen game, in the wide receiver screen. He just always seems to, he plays with a fury. He had 2 touchdowns, 96 yards through the air. He had another 20 or 25 rushing. Do you start to consider Tavon Austin a flexible guy?
He's getting close. Here's what I consider him right now, because watching the game, He was as fast as he's ever been, and that's always been his huge thing. They're using him more and more, targeting him more. So he is now not flexible yet, I don't think, but he is rosterable. And before I have seen him on waivers and left him on waivers, and now you really do have to consider it, especially with the emergence of Todd Gurley. Gonna open things up there.
Do you guys want to hear a funny stat?
Yeah, of course.
Always.
This one comes from Field Yates, by the way, so I got to give him credit at Field Yates. The Patriots hired Bill Belichick in 2000. How many combined coaches has the rest of the AFC East had in that time?
Just that division?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's been
3 teams
in 15 years.
15 years combined.
I'm gonna go with 25.
21.
21
coaches
Wow.
for the AFC East. So, I've always been the kind of, you have to have the right guy, but the way Cincinnati's done it, the way New England's done it, you're going to have the way the Giants have done it. Jason and I were talking about this with Coughlin yesterday, and say what you will about Coughlin. You can like him, you cannot like him. They've let him work through tough times in the division. I think the Giants win this division, by the way, this year. And I think it's just a testament to Coughlin. This will be the third time they've been, are they going to fire Coughlin?
Yeah.
And then he comes out and,
wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
The last 2 times it was like, they didn't fire him. Oh, he just got us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He gets 2 more years, and then by that time, they're about to fire him, and he gets them back to the Super Bowl.
That's crazy. So, all right, Alan Hearns, start of the week by Mike, the fantasy hitman, 11 for 116 and a touchdown.
I tip my cap.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that
That's
was-
beautiful. I remember getting the tweet this week, or the text this weekend that said, Hearns TD.
Yeah, I was
we-
very excited.
We want to come through for you guys.
I
out
was
there.
happy with just the touchdown, and then he decided he was going to have the best game of his career.
Yeah,
Right?
well, that's a good time to call him your start of the week, don't you think?
But yeah. But,
And then Vincent Jackson reappeared.
you got to hit the button for Vincent.
Why have you not put there's a name missing, by the way, in this
Oh, I
wide
missed one?
receiver list. Yeah.
Who are we missing?
His name rhymes with Schmermy Schmacklin.
Oh, because I just went through. I was going through the tops. and-
Yeah, he was
No,
kind
you're
of
right.
one of the tops.
You're right.
He just didn't score a touchdown, but he was like
he
11
was-
for 149.
Yes.
He was the 6th highest wide receiver this
Okay.
week. So
All right. Well,
Jerry-
he's
he-
higher than Mike Wallace and Leonard Hankerson, I'm sure.
he is 1 higher than Mike Wallace.
Okay.
And he is 2 behind Leonard Hankerson.
Oh, Hankerson scored. Okay.
Yeah, no, Jeremy Maclin had a great game.
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted you to say that without me having to hit the garbage man button.
One other guy
that's fair.
worth mentioning because of future injury as well, who had a top 10 wide receiver game, was K'Mar Aiken. And with Steve Smith being out, I think he's a name we should keep on the radar.
He can be started next week if you need to. I'd rather start
Absolutely.
K'Mar Aiken next week than...
Is it K'Mar or is it Kamar?
Yeah, I kind of follow Jason's lead there, but I believe it's Kamar. But we'll
We got to hit the
I'm-
YouTube again.
Yeah. All right. I do. Leonard Hankerson had a good game. That game, I'm going to just share my story from the league.
Yes.
This is called Nightmare. It's called The Nightmare. I was playing Mike. I lost to Mike handily. I had Arian Foster and Julio Jones, and the worst combo of events happened in that game where just a boat racing. By the way, this was my almost upset of the week. That is now going to be called the almost upset of the week.
When it was 0-0,
It was almost
it was
an
very
upset.
close.
Just ridiculous. I think I've picked the 2 biggest blowouts the past 2 weeks. So I'm like 2 for 4 now on the year, which is whatever. They're tough picks. But this is terrible because they scored 1,000,000 points. And so both of the guys didn't even play in the second half. It was like every time I looked on my phone, it was the Falcons with the ball and a guy named Ward keeps running the ball. And you knew there was going to be no Arian Foster. They're going to save him for Thursday night. And they don't need to throw the ball to Julio Jones because this game was over before it started. So 4-0 Falcons, but I got no points out of those guys. I started Mike Evans. For those that are, we just talked about Vincent Jackson. Who do I think's better rest of the year? Mike Evans by far. Not even close. He had
Mike
1 billion
Evans-
targets, but he went up against Norman.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got the Josh Norman effect. That dude is a bad man.
He is. And that team is a great team because of him.
So let me ask you guys this, because I have a little bit of a hard time right now trusting a start in either Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson, because I don't think the Tampa Bay offense with Winston is going to put up enough points through the air for both to have a good week. So I feel like you're just rolling the dice. And either one of these guys can win you a week, but they could also be guys in your roster that lose you a week. And so Mike Evans, I agree, is the guy to have there going forward of the two, but I'm not thrilled about having him on my team where I've got to choose to start him and go, is this going to be the week that he gets in the end zone? Because if he doesn't, it can't go to both guys enough in that offense.
I don't agree. We'll
Okay.
just disagree on that one. I think Mike Evans has more than a sustainable amount of target numbers coming his way for the remainder of the season. He had 17 targets last week. He didn't score last week. He still put up 15 fantasy points. He faced Norman this week. He still had 8 targets this week. He's just too big, and they're going to be down by too many points. I mean, we saw this last year. They were a terrible team last year.
So are you saying you are comfortable starting Mike Evans? Let's say you don't have Mike Evans and you've got Vincent Jackson. Are you comfortable starting Vincent Jackson?
I'm comfortable flexing Vincent Jackson.
Okay, so
I'm
think
a wide
both
receiver
are
2
worthy
on
of-
Evans.
Yeah.
I'm a 2 on Evans. I'm a flex on Jackson.
I'm a 2 on Vincent Jackson.
I mean, it doesn't mean I disagree that they're not that good. It doesn't mean that I disagree that one guy's going to be higher than the other, but that's kind of par for the course. I mean, even Julio can have a day where he's
Sure.
Julio and Brown, Antonio Brown. I thought I was in the gold here where Mike started Antonio Brown and he got 5 points or whatever, and I'm like, oh, Julio should triple that. Nope, got less. Just happens sometimes. So, but the target numbers are what I look for, and I like the target numbers there, and they're going to be losing a lot of games. So, Mike Wallace did score a touchdown. I thought about making him my start of the week last week because of the fact that Charles Johnson wasn't playing. And they're facing Denver. He had a good game.
That would have been bold.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Spicy.
I almost benched Foster right before the game
I know.
and put Eddie Royal in because Cutler was going to play, and I'm like, well, if Royal's the lead dog with,
and then he immediately gets a touchdown, right?
yep,
Right afterwards.
yeah.
that was great.
All right.